about college applications. This is the opportunity, obviously, you have to showcase yourself, present yourself to admissions. So let's explore it. Let me introduce myself. I'm Katherine O'Brien. I'm the founder of Celtic College Consultants, and I went to Northwestern University undergraduate and studied engineering, and then I have a master's degree in theology. I am an admissions scholarship and financial aid expert and have been providing these services to families across the country since 2004. First stop, we need to know our applications. You may or may not be aware that there are multiple applications that are being used by the colleges. So let's go through and talk about the main ones. So you have the Common Application, which is a service used by a number of colleges and universities across the country. And when you use it, when you use any of these systems, actually, you're going to enter in your information once, enter in the list of schools, state which recommenders you would like to have the recommendation sent to which schools, and you will submit through this application server. So the Common Application is probably the best known and serves the most schools. When you go to the admissions page, you will see a notice saying that they are a Common App only school, or they accept the Common Application as well as maybe the Coalition application, or they have their own application. There is technically no distinction between which application you use, which means that those admissions offices say that they don't have a preference. However, one always has to wonder if they still have their own application, and they're well aware of the Common Application because they accept it. If you go the extra mile and complete their application and don't use the Common Application, if they don't notice that and just notice that you're taking a little extra effort to apply to their school in particular. Okay. Then we have some systems like Texas and California where they have an application that's required by the system of schools. This is the only application that those schools will accept. In the ApplyTexas, there are essays A, B, and C, and depending on if you're a first year or a transfer applicant, you will have different of those to complete. And some of the schools that use that application require multiple essays, some of them do not. In the UC application, you can apply to any one or all of the UC system universities. They all make admissions decisions separately, just like the Texas school, just like every other schools. In the UC situation, they have 8 essay prompts, 4 essays are required, and every single campus will get exactly the same application. There's one submission, they will all get the same thing. This is also true in Texas. You have a little bit of a difference with the Common Application in that you can do iterations, so you can adjust your common essay for each school. We will talk in a little while later about supplemental essays and some other topics there. The Coalition application is used by a small number of schools. It, like the Common Application, offers you the opportunity to start the application before your application season starts, which is to say you can start an account sophomore and junior year and start to record your accomplishments, your activities, your awards, your honors, and obviously your basic data, your name and address and those sorts of information. And that will roll over so that when it comes to being time to say, okay, these are my final schools and I'm writing my essay, I'm actually in my own application season ready to roll, that preliminary data entry is finished. That's a good idea to do. Some do it, some do not. And then at the bottom there, the university application form. We still have a number of schools around the country that have their own application form. Some schools only accept their own application form. For them, it's a great way to weed out the students who would apply but aren't really that interested, so probably are not going to actually matriculate at that school. It requires a little bit more effort. You have to do all that data entry again for that school, and every application is a little bit different from school to school to school. Lastly, there are still a few schools that will send you a paper application. Not sure why, not sure pros and cons, it's really unclear, but that's something that they still do. Okay, on your application, on all of the applications, you're going to have personal data for yourself and surprisingly for your parents. They're going to want to know where your parents went to college, whether or not they got degrees, sometimes when they graduated, and sometimes what they studied. They're also going to want to know about your siblings. How many do you have? How old are they? Where are they in their schooling process? So it could be that you're the third child and you have, two older siblings who are in college. It could be that you're the first child and you have two younger siblings, one's in high school, one's in middle school, or you could be the only child. Whatever the case is, they just want that information. A number of the applications request your family income. The truth is, nearly all college admissions is need aware, which means that they are considering your ability to pay without any financial aid as part of the admissions decision. Families always ask, should we include this information? Sometimes it's optional, sometimes it's required. It's tough. If you're full pay, yeah, include it because that's going to help your student get in. If you're not, which is most families, you may as well. You're going to be applying for your financial aid anyway, so they're going to have the data. So you may as well. One way or the other, they're going to find out. Money is just a part of this process, and it is inextricably intertwined. And that may seem offensive or unfortunate. At the same time, these are businesses, and they need to make sure their bottom line works. They don't want to invite so many students who have need to become students that they have to renege on their financial aid awards. That would be horrendous. So they do want to balance things a little bit along the class. So it's interesting. And these days we have a number of schools that are saying, well, we really want to help first generation students. We want to help lower income students come. It's great marketing. The numbers are not really showing that they're skewing that way to invite more first generation. That one's happening more or less, but the lower income families not so much. So if you're in that socioeconomic situation, feel free to just say who you are. I don't think there's really a better way than just being honest. Okay, in the education section, you're going to need to list all of your high schools that you attended, and as well as any colleges you attended, even if it was a summer class, even if it's not on your high school transcript, you need to list all of your schools. You're also going to need to be sending transcripts from all of your schools to the colleges and universities that you're applying to. Honors and awards. Sometimes this is in with the activities, and some other applications it's in a separate section. You're going to want to list these as the most prestigious national, international awards down to the school awards, the least prestigious. You're also going to want to prioritize those which are related to your chosen field of interest, your academic strengths, first, over, most improved volleyball player, say. It's an honor or an award. It shows some things about you, so it's worth including if there's space, but it's not as prestigious as winning an international competition in your field. Scoring really top scores on a national Latin exam or some other exam. Things like Eagle Scout that are completely outside academics are also listed here. These are different awards that are nationally recognized that have an academic component in some respects, but are really demonstrating your character or your leadership. Include those as well. There's a place to put your athletics, your gallery shows, the business you started, your writing and being published. All of this is going to happen in your activities. Some of it's going to happen in the honors and awards section. Any research you are participating in, internships, clubs, organizations. And again, you want to prioritize the most prestigious of these at the top and those most related to your field of study at the top. After that, the things that took the most time, because admissions is looking for demonstrated interest in your field, they're looking for excellence in your field, and they're looking to see what else you're doing outside of class, because that shows to them a number of things about you. When you are carrying a very academically rigorous load of classes, you're excelling in them, getting good grades, as well as doing time-consuming extracurricular activities. Clearly, you can manage your time. Clearly, there are some personal skills that you have which will indicate that you're going to be successful on a college campus and able to contribute at a high level in multiple areas. All of that is to the good, and you want to make sure you prioritize your activities and achievements, honors, and awards so that it's clear. Remember, your audience is admissions personnel that are reading hundreds of applications. Their eyes get tired, they gloss over things, they don't notice them. So you want to hit them with the best, the most prestigious at the top. Make it easy. Make it evident. Let it shine. Some applications will allow you to upload a resume. Now, on the common application and the coalition application, the schools that you're applying to have options to customize portions of that application. So sometimes you will use the common application and apply to, say, 4 different schools. And 2 of them will invite you to upload a resume and 2 of them will not. If a college or university wanted a resume, they will ask for one. If they don't give it to them. With the exception of students who are doing extraordinary things, and lots of them, there's just no way to put anywhere else. So there's an extra essay you could use for that information, or you could send separately a resume. This is particularly the case with students who've done significant research and conference presentations, that sort of thing, or students in the fine arts and performing arts, where they may have a number of roles that they have played over the years in different settings, in different productions, a number of performances that they have given with different orchestras, say, or concert groups. So those sorts of things need to be listed separately. There just simply is no way to include all of that. Some of our elite athletes are going to have a resume like that as well, because they can put it as a line item in their activities and maybe their highest thing that they've won in their awards. But there's a lot more to it that's going on that there's just no place in the application to put. Resumes are not the same. Like the example on the screen here is a business resume with a profile or a goal at the top and your education and work-related experience. We've seen these. This is not the kind of resume that we're looking for when it comes to college admissions. Okay, so you're going to be targeting the same kinds of activities that I've already talked about in the activities and honors and awards, in your leadership and community service. But particularly, this resume should have additional information that's not on the application. If it's just reiterating what's on the application, it's not adding anything. So you want to make sure that each piece of your application is building together to add to an overall presentation about yourself. And let me take a moment here in the middle to say, sometimes your college will say, well, we'll take the Common App or the Coalition app, or we have our own app. So where do I start? Which one do I choose? there's no straight cut and dry answer. I already gave you the hint that applying using the school's own application indicates particular interest in that school, and you're willing to go a little bit above and beyond the common application that you're filling out for everybody. Okay, and so instead of using a multi-use application, you're doing the single use for them. But you want to look at the breakdown for your particular achievements, your particular accomplishments and strengths, which of those applications that they accept will help you highlight it the best. There's not a cut and dry answer that this one's best for this one's best for that. You'll want to have time before your application season starts to evaluate that. So the sooner you have your list ready, the sooner you can start to explore those options in early summer, say, before senior year, and figure that out when you're figuring out where you're going to apply early and where you're going to apply regular decision, all those sorts of things, all at the same time, so that then you plan in enough time to complete all those applications. Okay, your courses and grades and your 12th grade courses. There's a section on the Common Application and on some of the other applications for courses and grades. In the case of like the Cal State schools, it's required. On the Common Application, some of the colleges that use that application require it, some of them do not. Most applications will ask for your senior year classes, what's planned. If you need to complete this section, you need to do it when you're awake and not at the very end of the day. It is very detailed and it's very easy to make mistakes. It's essential that this information matches your transcript. So you need to have an unofficial copy of your transcript with you as you're entering all this information in. In some cases, like the CSU application, there's a drop-down menu to select the classes. Other cases, you're typing everything in. So you want to enter it all in at a time when you've got good energy and can focus. You also then want to print it. Yes, print it, put it on paper. Don't do this on your phone. You want to print it, get it out on paper, have your transcript on paper, and go line by line, verifying that everything has been entered correctly. Every single class, every single grade, whether it's an accelerated class, which means you finished a year's work in one semester, or it's an honors class, or it's an AP class, or it's a dual enrollment college credit class, etc., etc. How your school does grades, it all needs to be in, it all needs to be accurate. Now, what do I do with my college grades? Because I'm giving credit hours and that doesn't really work. So this is relating to what's going to be on your high school transcript. So if you took, say, freshman composition, English 101 at the college, and that was your, say, senior year English class. So you're going to put it in as your senior year English class. It's going to be worth 1 credit, 1 year's credit, because that's the high school credit you're getting. And if you're doing the college class typically is twice a high school class. So you're going to get a year of high school credit for a semester of a college class. So you're going to put in fall, say, English 101, got an A, and I get 1 credit, not half a credit, because half a credit would be a semester. 1 credit's a year. And maybe I'm doing English 102, the second semester, that's another credit. So now I have 5 years of English, assuming I've got 1 freshman, sophomore, and junior year. So take your time, check it, and again, slowly, carefully, write all over the written printout and the written transcript, highlighting, this has been checked, it's verified, it's correct. This is correct, this is correct, this is not correct, and all of that, and then print it again to check it again. You may think I'm crazy, but you don't want to be caught in a lie, so to speak. That's a typo. And this attention to detail is something that you need to have at certain times. Filing your taxes, you need to get the numbers right. This is another place you need to get the numbers right. You need to show the care and diligence. This is demonstrating a skill that you need at college and in life. So demonstrate it. And no, your mom's not your secretary. It's not her college application. It's yours. You need to do this. So you need time to put these applications together. This is not something to pull out on the 29th when it's due on the 30th or on the 1st. Should you include test scores on your application? Yes, you should include the test scores. You're going to need to send them to the schools anyway. Now, what if you're applying to a test optional school? When you go to submit your application, they will ask if you want things included. And you'll tell them, I want the essay included, or I don't want my essay included. I want my test scores included, or I don't. And admissions will abide by your decision because the Common App is programmed so that if you say, nope, don't send it, they don't send it. So admissions never gets it. Okay? Should you include every test score from every test date? Most colleges do not require this. A few do. So you'll definitely want to check the admissions page to get the information to see what the school is expecting. The same thing happens when you're giving your score report. You want to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of the colleges that you're applying to. And then super scoring is about to be a thing with the ACT, and they'll be doing that. So you'll want to make sure that you have all of your various scores. Many schools already super score the SAT. If you're not familiar with that term, super scoring is when you take the top score in each section, no matter what date. And so you're going to take your best English score and your best math score and combine them to create your best SAT score, your super scored ACC score. You're going to do the same thing then with the four individual scores to create a new composite score for the ACT. Subject tests just have a score, so there's no way to super score those. And they're only required by certain schools. So I have this sparkler here on purpose. This is the essay section. This is where you get to shine, okay? A computer can read the rest of it and know your grades, your test scores, where you're from, your gender, how big your high school was, your class rank, all that kind of thing, or if your parents were college educated or not, etc. There's the vast majority of that. And then there's categories they can put a lot of the honors and awards in. But your essay, you get to stand out from the crowd. So there is a main essay that ApplyTexas is SAA. The UC, University of California application, they have 4 essays, so there's no main essay. The 4 essays comprise your main essay. On the Common Application Coalition application, there's a main essay. There are multiple prompts to choose from. You choose one and you write your essay. And then you cut and paste it and put it into the box and make sure it looks pretty. One small tip, having spoken to readers, it's when it comes out, the prompt and the essay are jammed next to each other. So I always suggest to my students to put a blank line at the top of your essay so that when it shows up on the screen, or if they're a school that actually prints them, that there's a line in between. It just makes it easier for the reader to read it. Same goes between paragraphs. Just give their eyes a break. A wall of words is really hard to read. So you want to break it up, make it visually appealing as well as substantive. I gave a whole other talk on essays. I'm going to refer you to that as far as what to write, how to put it together, some styles of how to format it, as well as some exercises to get started and actually get yourself moving and not have the blank page. How to figure out your message, and then selecting prompts that go with the message. There are also optional essays. Some schools will offer you this opportunity. The Common App has an optional essay section, as does the UC application, and this is for extra information. You don't want admissions to wonder anything, so tell them. Yeah, My grandma died in spring of sophomore year. All my grades took a dip. I missed a month of school. I was sick. This significant thing happened. We moved. My parents got divorced, and so I had to move and chaos, and I couldn't get to class. Whatever is showing up on the rest of your application that needs an explanation, give an explanation. They don't want a whole long essay about it, but give an explanation. What's going on? Why did that happen? So there aren't any questions. You also need to know that, in addition to all that other stuff, I was working 3 jobs to help pay the rent because that's what my family needed. They knew that you worked because you put that somewhere else, but the fact that you were bearing the burden of helping support your family, they didn't know that. Okay. And then supplemental essays. I saw a big shift in the class of 2020 applications. Prior to this, some schools had supplemental essays. This application season, many schools had supplemental essays. And it's everything from one word, what's your favorite movie, favorite book, favorite color, a zillion different little things, to short answers, give me a sentence, 2, 5, 100 words, 200 words, to full on, here's 800 words, write an essay on this. Our founder said da 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 da. What do you think? We have this opportunity. What do you think? In this situation, these are the options. How would you use that to benefit you? How would you use it to benefit the world, etc.? Those kinds of things. So you want to look for those and be aware that August 1st, when the applications open, so the coalition opens July 1st, just about everything else opens August 1st. And the supplemental essays are not always there on time because the schools haven't submitted them yet. And those change year to year. So you want to get your main essays done so that you've got time then between August 1st and your deadlines to get the rest of it finished. Because there may be a number of supplemental essays. I had a number of students who were writing well more than 10 essays this year, where previously it was only my super advanced kids that were applying to honors programs and other specialized programs and scholarships that had so many. This year, most of my kids had a lot. So you want to make sure there's time. Bear Bryant, great advice. Little things make the difference. Everyone is well prepared in the big things, but only the winners perfect the little things. You want to take a long time on your essays, elapsed time and number of hours. And you need to write what you want to say. As I mentioned, I have another talk that I give on essays. You'll want to explore that to help you figure out what you want to say. Take time. You need time spent writing, time spent with your essay coach, as well as time in between to let them sit so you can look at them with fresh eyes and review them again. I provide essay mentoring as a standalone service. I work with a limited number of students. You can get more information at tinyurl.com/essaymentor. It takes time. I want to make a few comments. Parents are not the greatest coaches because we know your life. We've lived it with you. So we're familiar with things that you're writing about, and we fill in the gaps and don't notice that it doesn't necessarily make sense to somebody who wasn't there. We're biased because we love you. We're your parents. And we don't know what admissions wants. English teachers often will have students trying to write application essays for class and whatnot. Sometimes they have them pass them around the class and peer review, which is like death to the really good essay because you're not going to be that vulnerable and you don't know who's going to read it. And the teenager next to you doesn't know anything more about what admissions wants than you do. And your English teacher is probably a really good English teacher, but you're not writing fiction. You're not writing rhetoric. You're not writing a paper. This is not an academic exercise. And so other than checking your grammar and your transitions and staying in the same tense, they don't really have a role in this. So I appreciate very much the English teachers that do this, but it's not the best. I want to mention about sample papers. Some applications will invite you to submit sample papers, so you want to hang on to those. Sometimes that's in addition to essays, sometimes it's instead of essays. And then recommendations are an important part of your application as well. Primarily, you're going to get these from teachers, and they want 1 to 2 academic typically. And what they mean by academic is English, science, math, or history teachers. Sometimes you can use a foreign language teacher, particularly if you've done advanced studies or your major is related to that. Or if you are, say, I'm going to be an oboe major, having one from my band teacher would make sense. Or my oboe tutor, master teacher, whatever I'm using to perfect myself. That would make sense in that case. But typically they want English, science, math, and history. Those are the core subjects. And they need to support your application, and they need to be outstanding. So don't just say, hey, could you write me a recommendation? Could you write me a strong, positive recommendation? And giving them some idea of what you want them to focus on is a good idea. And then through the application, you'll enter in, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, and their email address, and the application processor will send them an email with links so they can submit their application or their recommendation on your behalf. And that will get added into your application and sent off to the colleges for which you have chosen them as a recommender. Because some schools don't want any recommendations, some schools will take 10. And so you're going to need to assign your recommenders to the various schools for each school. So you want to think about what they can say, because your holistic view of your application, you want them to support what's already being said, and if they can shed some light on it with personal insight, recounting of significant events that happened in their class when they were present, if they're an advisor in a club, etc., that supports and strengthens and broadens the perspective of what's being presented on your application. You're also going to need a counselor recommendation. For homeschoolers, this is usually mom and dad, which means your teachers need to be other people. And you want to describe any special circumstances for you or your campus. You moved junior year, or your campus had a death or a shooting or something else happen. It's the first year for your campus, new clubs, whatever's going on. You want them to focus on your place within your senior class. Are you a leader? Are you a dynamic individual? Are you a quiet mentor type? Are you a troublemaker? Who are you? They should include examples whenever possible, so you need to cultivate a relationship with them. And describe the degree of difficulty at your school. Some schools grade really, really hard. Some schools, everybody's going off to college, and it's really intense because everybody's trying to hit the Ivies or the top schools or the tech schools or whatever it is. Other schools have a different mix. Other schools have different difficulties because we're socioeconomically disadvantaged and we've got these things going on and those things going on. So that context comes from the counselor. And then what does leadership mean? Because sometimes president of the club is a box you tick and you never do anything. And other times you're creating events, you're speaking in front of people, you're doing all sorts of things inside the school community as well as outside the school community. And so for homeschoolers, it's going to have a whole other spin of what all this means that we're going to have to address. But these are the things that they're looking for in a counselor recommendation. And so what does it mean? Where is this student in the family? What are their responsibilities? How difficult are things? Are things, they're getting a list and they're on their own to organize their time? Or are you, walking them through every class and nothing is ever late because, it gets turned into mom, so it just can't be late? Or what is the thing? How does leadership work? Are they really taking responsibility and doing leadership? What's going on? Give them some insight. So that's what this recommendation is for. A few schools will ask for a peer recommendation. It's kind of a quirky ask, really to provide insights into your personality and character. If they can give examples, that'd be great. It's not graded. It doesn't need to be perfect. They recognize that another high school student is writing it. So not a lot of emphasis placed here. It's just another avenue to get a little bit more information about your personality. Some schools and some programs in schools are going to want a portfolio, an art portfolio or an architecture portfolio, or pictures of your various sculptures, paintings, etc. There's SlideRoom is the most common place that you're going to be uploading this sort of thing. There are also portfolio review days, so you're going to want to see if your school participates in that, what the requirements are, and allow plenty of time. Sometimes uploading these images takes a long time, and you've got many of them to do in descriptions, and sometimes you will find another essay, your artist statement, your architectural goals, or whatever they're asking. So be aware that there may be a whole other level of things that you need to do. You're going to need to allow time for all of this. On the other side, you're going to have auditions for your performing kids. So you can't really do that in a portfolio. Everything from like the mime to the musician to the dancers of different types of dance. So be prepared for those. They have national audition days, different places around the country, or sometimes you can video yourself or show footage of a performance you gave, etc. So explore that and do that early. It takes a long time to get the footage and edit it and put it all together and present it if that's the way it needs to go. It takes time to make travel plans and all the rest of it if that's the way that you need to go. So just take the time. You want to put your best foot forward. ZME or videos or your own website are things that colleges are being more and more open to. Some kids blog. Some kids have a lot out there on social media. Others do not. You can create things or not. Some people create a special application video. ZME has got a whole way of putting a profile together over time. So this is another avenue that for some students is a great way to supplement their application. For other students, it's like torture. Oh my goodness, now I've got to create this and I don't know how, and I'm going to look stupid and a million things. It's just not their strength. So they are not required at this time, but they are options. This is a lot to put together. So as a college planner, I offer complete application management services. So I'll go through the application strategies, work through all the applications, create a timeline, walk you through step by step. There's price points depending on how many essays are included. More information at tinyurl.com/collegeprepmentor. If you'd like to just get together and discuss your options, we can set up a consultation and we'll meet parents and student and me, and we'll talk about your situation, what your needs are, how things are going. So if you want just information on just the essay part, that's at tinyurl.com/essaymentor. Just the college prep part for the application part or is at College Prep Mentor. And then, it's not on here. It's Celtic, oh yes it is, in the middle. Celtic College Consultants.fullslate.com is where I schedule those consultations. So they're an hour long, it's one-on-one. Your family and me will use FaceTime or Skype, and we will talk through your situation. And if it's appropriate, then I will prepare a proposal for you of additional services. And the fee for the consultation can be applied to those additional services if you elect to have any. But it's a great way to have get personal insight from a professional on your situation and what your family's needs are and the best ways to move forward. So again, I'm Katherine O'Brien, and my phone number and email are there. I'm at CelticCollegeConsultants.com is my website. I'm very grateful that you spent the time today to learn more about the application process. It's a lot to handle. It can be done. It takes time. It takes a lot of steps. It can be done. It can be done well. I look forward to meeting you. Have a wonderful day.